All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today we're going to be talking about another leader that pops up in World War II, and that is Italy's Benito Mussolini. Okay. So, here is your warm up picture. Now, the question's not asking you about Hitler, which is that guy you see with his hands extended out. Look like he's ready to just dive in there. I'm talking about the guy behind him. What do you think this artist is trying to say about him? So look at his facial expression, look at his body language. Um, what do you think this artist is trying to say? Okay. And just in case you're wondering, like some other students did, those lines above their head, that's not a mistake. That's not an accident. That's like to show shaking, movement. Okay. So, yeah, it's not a mistake. It's not drawn wrong. It's just to shows movement. Okay. So, look at the guy, think about it, write your response because we're moving on in three, two, one. So, Benito, I'm going to kill this name. Almicare Andrea Mussolini was born on July 29th, 1883. And I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the name of that town. You just gotta know he's from Italy. Okay, that's the only important thing you need to know about where he's from. It's Italy. Now his dad, Alessandro, he was a blacksmith. Blacksmith is a person who makes like horseshoes and they make things from metal, swords, daggers, things like that too. So anything with metal, they know how to work with. Okay. Um, and the thing is, his dad had two things he really loved in his life. Number one is his politics, specifically socialist politics. He liked talking about it, discussing it, things like that. And, you know, he loved politics. The other thing that he really loved was his mistress, his side piece, his side woman. Um, and he would spend his money on her. Forget the fact that Alessandro had his son Benito and kids at home, and also a wife. No, 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 no. He's going to spend his time and his money with his side piece. Okay. Now, Mussolini's mom, she was a teacher at a Catholic church. Okay. And she basically spent her money on the family. Whatever the family needed, food, clothing, whatever. She's the one who's really supporting the family. Now, Benito had two older siblings, okay? And he was the youngest. Now, throughout school, he showed signs of intelligence. He was a very smart kid, very smart. You know, the only problem was he was defiant. He was disobedient to authority. So teachers, counselors, principals, people like that, telling him people who are older than him, who have authority, telling him to do something, he'd be like, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna do what you tell me to do." You know. And on top of that, he had a pretty rowdy behavior when it came to other students, constantly getting in fights, bullying them, and stuff like that. Okay. Now, his dad's passion for politics kind of rubbed off on him, and this is one of the reasons why he defied authority. He was like, "You're trying to control me." He had that mentality of like that. Just like the dad was like, "Oh, the socialist government's so great, and this government we have now, they're trying to control us. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. They don't want us to be socialists, which is better than, what they had at the time." So, yeah, Mussolini got that from his dad. Now, here's the thing that I thought was funny about him. Even though he got kicked out of a lot of schools for bullying and getting in fights and not listening to the teachers and principals, he ends up being a teacher at the age of 18. So when I hear students say, "I would never become a teacher," heck no, and this and that, I just think, well, you never know, because I'm sure Mussolini said the same thing. "I would never be a teacher. I would never be this a principal. I would never be in this education field." Guess what he did right away? Became a teacher. Now, in 1902, he moves to Switzerland to try to promote socialism. Okay. The thing is, people in Switzerland, they don't want socialism, but he's still there. He's still trying to promote it. The thing is, just like how Hitler was in the last lesson, Mussolini is in kind of the same place. He's trying to get people to notice him and listen to him, to what he has to say. So he builds his charisma. He learns how to talk to people, and he learns how to use language and stuff like that, and keep things small so people can remember it and listen to what he has to say. So yeah, his verbal talent started picking up, his charisma really started to pick up, and people started listening to him. Well, thing is, the Switzerland government and authorities found him. They caught him, and they basically literally kicked him out of the country. They basically put him on a wagon, took him out to the border, and kicked him off. All right. Now, in 1904, he returns to Italy to try to promote socialism again. This time, though, in Italy, he gets arrested, but he's released. Gets arrested again, released. Because again, he's a citizen. Okay. Now, thing is, he comes to realize, you know what? My voice, yes, it's a powerful voice. It's loud. It's people listen, but it has a range. You know, people may hear me for 200 yards, but that's probably about it. Can't go 300 yards. Anything past that, people are not going to hear me. So he's thinking, like, how can I get my voice out there? And then it hits him, the media, newspapers. So he creates a newspaper called Avanti, which is Italian for forward. And he's hoping with this, then people will read his newspaper and be influenced by him. Okay. Now, like I said in class, sometimes people read a newspaper like back in the day and they probably just like sit it down. You know, I'm done with this. And they just like put it on a bench or whatever, you know. So somebody might come by sitting on that bench and they'd be like, oh, look at the newspaper. Let me see what this says, you know. And the thing is, newspapers can travel farther than someone's voice can. So it was pretty smart of him to make that newspaper. Now, World War One happens, and he publicly condemns Italy for joining in. He's like, "You guys are dumb. You're stupid. It's not our fight. Why would we join?" And then it kind of hits him, like, you know, throughout the history of man, anytime a country went to war and they won, they got stuff. Maybe we should see if I should join and help out Italy win this war, and we can get things. Now, because he joined the army, the socialist group disowned him. They said, "You're not part of our group no more. You're not one of us. You're joining the government. You're joining these guys. You're not part of us anymore." So they kicked him out. Now, Mussolini did fight in World War One. He fought on the front lines. He wasn't one of those guys who was in the back and things like that. No, he was in the front lines. He actually reached the rank of corporal. Now, the thing is, one of these battles, he did get hurt, okay, and he was discharged from the military. Now, the thing is, he's out of the military and he's like, okay, what do I do now? The socialist group kicked me out. So on March 23rd, 1919, he started the Fascist Party. And there were some right wing groups who kind of looked at him and said, we like what you're saying, we like your ideas, let's join up. Now, the thing is, um, you hear a lot of people, especially on social media, on the news, who say Biden's a fascist, Trump's a fascist, Obama was a fascist, this other politician's a fascist. And every time I hear that, I'm thinking to myself, do those people even know what a fascist is? They don't. They just know it means something bad, so they're going to throw that word out there. So that's why I put this definition for you, so you know what a fascist is. A fascist is a political philosophy in where they put the nation, you know, ahead of people's rights. Maybe even not just a nation, but sometimes even a race. They put it above people's rights. So like in our country, the police just can't bust into your house without a search warrant. You know, unless you have somebody in your house who's on probation. That's like one of the only uh, counters to it. But if there's nobody who's has a warrant out or who's on parole, the cops just can't bust in your house. Whereas a fascist would say, no, the cops should be allowed to do that. Who cares about your individual rights of privacy and things like that? If you're not doing anything wrong, you should be scared. It doesn't matter if I did anything right or wrong. The cops can't do that. They shouldn't be able to do that. See, that's individual rights. They can't do that. Where the fascists be like, no, no, no. If you're so scared, why are you so scared? Are you hiding something? Why are you hiding things for? You know. So that's what they would say. Your rights don't matter. Okay. Now the thing is, this would eventually lead to totalitarianism. This is basically when there's only one political party, and it's usually the people in charge. And yeah, it's just bad. Okay. Now these fascist groups, led by Mussolini, they tried to proclaim opposition to social classes. They try to say there should be no rich, medium, and poor people. When in reality, they just wanted to make sure that they were on top. And they try to say the national sentiment that we should do things to make all our people happy. But can you make everyone happy? No. So they're going to try to make sure that they're happy and they won't give a care about everyone else. Okay. Mussolini, his main goal was to reach the same level as the ancient Romans, conquer as much territory, put the fear in other countries about, oh my God, we shouldn't attack Rome because they're so big, they're so powerful, they're so amazing. He tried to get them at that level. That's what he wanted. Now, when World War One ended, Italy joined the other nations, Britain, France, United States, Belgium, into signing the Treaty of Versailles. Thing is, he didn't like it. He didn't like it at all because under the Treaty of Versailles, Italy got just a little bit of land. You know, yes, it wasn't just like 500 yards. It was like several miles. But he wanted more. He felt no. What? Why are we getting more? The United States only joined for like 2 years, and they're getting a bunch of money and they're getting all this stuff. We have been there since the beginning, and what do we get? Just a little bit of land? No, we should be getting more land, more money, more of this, more of that. So he was pretty upset. So he organized a group called the Black Shirts. And these guys are like you see in that picture right there. They had black shirt, black hats, they terrorized other political groups. And anytime there was a fascist idea, people who wanted to be fascists, they supported them, helped them to join their group. Okay. Now, throughout the 1920s, there was some political chaos. Because remember, World War One just ended. Italy is pretty damaged from the war. So some people are like, we need to rebuild, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this and that. So there was a lot of political talk and discussion. Well, Mussolini basically told them, look at. If you make me the top guy, the prime minister, I will restore everything. Okay? I will restore everything. So in 1922, he gets what he wanted and he becomes the prime minister of Italy. Um, Now, one of the things he does do right away is he dismantles democratic institutions. So there was no longer voting by the people. So let's just say a city said, well, in this little plot of land that we have, should we build a park or should we build like homes and businesses here? And he'd be like, no, 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 you guys don't decide. I decide. There's no democratic voting and things like that. No, it's me. I vote. I say what goes there. Okay. 3 years later, he proclaims himself the dictator of Italy, and he gives himself the title El Duce, which means the leader in Italy or Italian. Um, and like I told the people in class, you got to remember, he gave himself that nickname. No one went, "Hey, El Duce," things like that. It didn't start off that way. No, he gave himself that name. He told people, "You call me El Duce." Okay, sure. You know. Now, one of the things he did as a dictator, which did really help him, was he created a public works program. Basically, they would like rebuild roads and bridges and things like that. And this helped people, you know, get jobs. And because of that, the unemployment rate dropped. So anytime someone lost a job, they can go to the government and say, "I need a job." And he'd be like, "Fine, I'll give you this job over here. You do this, you build this, you fix this, you do this and that." So the country was getting bigger, better. Things were getting fixed up. The people were now happy because they were getting jobs and they were getting paid money, you know. So this made people in Italy happy. Now, in 1935, Mussolini decided, I need to show off to the whole world how strong my military is. So instead of going against France or Belgium, one of those big countries, he goes against Ethiopia. Now, if you don't know where Ethiopia is, it's in Africa. Okay. Now, Ethiopia, it is a more modern place. It's not like, Bushman type of people. These guys are not just fighting with like bows and arrows and spears. These guys have guns and things like that. But the problem is they don't have the newest guns and weapons. They don't have the best. They don't have money for tanks and airplanes. So when Mussolini attacked with tanks, airplanes, and some of that, they basically beat the crap out of them. Now, Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, Ababa, was captured by Mussolini, and he basically said, "We're going to incorporate Ethiopia into the Italian Empire." Now, a lot of people around the world were like, "Why would you attack Ethiopia? What'd they do to you?" Okay, I mean, why Ethiopia? Did you just throw a dart on a map and say, "We're going to attack that place"? I mean, what the heck? So a lot of people were confused around the world, but there was one guy who said, "I like what he did. That's smart. That's something I would do too." That person was Adolf Hitler. And they formed a friendship. As you can see from that picture, Hitler very rarely smiled, and yet you see in that picture he's smiling pretty much. Okay. Now, in 1939, in Spain, there was a civil war going on between the Democratic and the fascist groups. Okay, and people were fighting, killing each other in Spain. Spanish versus Spanish. Okay. Thing is, though, Mussolini was telling those fascist people, "Tell me what you need. What can I do to help you?" Because his hope was this, that the fascist group would win in Spain, and then once they won, they'd be like, "Mussolini, you're the greatest. We love you. You're so awesome." And then maybe another country's fascist group would grow, and then he could help them and things like that. And then they would be like, "Oh, you are the greatest." And then basically he's known as the king of fascism and things like that. You know, and he'd be in glory if you want to use those terms. Okay. Now, later on, Germany, which is Hitler, and Italy, Mussolini, they sign a military alliance. They're basically now have each other's back. So if somebody attacked Italy, Germany would come and help them. And if someone attacked Germany, Italy would come and help them. This agreement became known as the Pact of Steel. So once you've finished this, you're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Um, so next class, when we come back from spring break, we'll be going over Stalin. Okay. So with that being said, guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.